Section 6 of Orpheus with his Lute by W.M.L. Hutchinson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. How Apollo Came to Delphi. I have been thinking, said Orpheus, on the fifth night, about the cave of Mount Parnassus, and the voice that spoke to Pyrrha, and there is one thing I would gladly know. Was it the great god Apollo who pitied her, and showed her how she and Deucalion might raise up a new folk from the ground? What know you of Apollo, said Calliope, to make you guess it was he? Only this, answered Orpheus, that he speaks to mortals out of a cave on that very mountain, and pilgrims flock there from all lands to seek his divine counsel. I have heard my father talk of this many a time. He says there is a rich temple without the cave, filled with thank offerings of the pilgrims, and that place is the holiest of all holy places. So it has been from the beginning, said Calliope, but there was a time when the sanctuary was not Apollo's. Before he came there, it belonged to Earth. She it was who spoke to Pyrrha, having compassion on her loneliness, and afterwards Deucalion built a temple at the cave's mouth, and taught the new race of men to offer sacrifices and thanksgiving to Mother Earth. Sister, cried Thalia, in answering one question, you have opened the door for another. I am certain our Orpheus now wishes to ask how Apollo came to be lord of the shrine. Is it not so? She added, smiling on the boy. You have spoken my very thought, lady, said he. Then I myself will tell you the tale, replied Thalia, for it is one after my own heart. So she told it in her clear, gay voice. Far away in blue southern waters there is a little rocky isle which men call Delos, but the gods in their tongue call it the Star of the Sea. For when they look down from high heaven, they behold it as a gem of sparkling rays on the sea's bosom. So small it is, and so resplendent with the golden roofs and rich-hued marbles of many-columned shrines, with the blaze of altar fires and the crowded bloom of terraced gardens. But once upon a time the isle lay desert, for it was a barren, waterless rock, and, moreover, it stood not rooted to the seafloor, but drifted on the waves as you may see a halcyon's nest afloat in the midwinter calm. Now, in the beginning of the reign of Zeus, Earth took sore displeasure at him, because he had punished the rebel Titans, and she brought forth the monster Typhon, huger than a mountain, having the form of a man down to the middle, and that of a serpent below, and breathing clouds of fire from his nostrils. And the first view of him so affrighted the Olympians that they forsook the sky, in terror lest he should rear his hideous head over their battlements and fill their golden houses with noisome smother and flame. So they fled to earth, and wandered there in the shape of diverse beasts and birds, the better to conceal themselves from the monster. Many adventures befell the divine exiles, but my tale tells only of one fair goddess, the gentlest and most gracious of them all, whose name was Leto. She, in the likeness of a quail, flew many days over land and sea, seeking some lonely hiding place, and lighted at last upon the floating isle. Here it seemed that she might safely rest, and she took her own shape again, and laid her down to sleep, very weary. Then Earth herself looked upon the sleeping goddess, and loved her, Olympian though she was, for there was that in the face of Leto which none could behold without tenderness, and the All-Mother caused the sea-tossed isle to take root in the bed of the deep, lest the rocking of the waves should mar her slumbers. So Delos stands fast unto this day. Now, when Leto had abode there but a little while, travail came upon her, and she brought forth her babe divine in a stony hollow by the sea, under the shade of a solitary palm. No sooner was he born than the whole isle blossomed so thick with flowers of all hues that scarce their leafage showed between. Here the bare rock was carpeted with the purple and the gold of violet, hyacinth, crocus. Yonder, where stunted thorns had been, a million roses spread their veil of pink and pearl, and high over all on craggy peak and ledge the lilies glittered like sheets of drifted snow. It seemed as earth and sea and sky thrilled with new joy at that blessed birth. The sun himself took on a heavenlier radiance, the laughing waves a purer sapphire, while all the air grew musical with flying voices that sang, "Apollo is born! Hail, all hail Apollo!" But a joy above all joys was Leto's as she beheld her glorious babe. She turned to seek for water that she might bathe his fair strong limbs, and straightway a pool, round and clear as a burnished mirror, shone forth beside the palm tree. Now, when she had bathed the child therein, and swaddled him in her ambrosial veil, the fear took her that huge Typhon might spy the isle that glowed so bright, and see them there, since there it had neither cave nor covert wherein to hide, but lay all open to his view. "Alas, my babe," she said, "this is no place for you and me. We must fly to some land of forest and mountain, where we may lurk unseen of our fearful foe." And swift as thought, she went gliding westward over the bright sea, while the babe laughed and leaped within her arm for glee at the speed of their going and the sight of the dancing waves. At last they came to a land of forest and mountain, even the land of Greece. Onward and still onward the gentle mother journeyed through the woodlands, and found no place that she deemed secure from all espial, until she had wandered to the foot of towering Parnassus and the rock-bound glen that is called Delphi. Here she saw some way off the low portal of a cave, half muffled from view in a thicket of flowering bay, and having set down her child, she went towards it to see if they might safely house within. But as she reached that portal, she started back in terror, for with menacing hiss the watcher of the threshold barred her way, a python of dappled skin and ruby eye. The great snake reared himself aloft, and fixed on Leto a glare so baleful that she stood rooted to the spot. She felt upon her the hot breath of his wide-stretched jaws, and though an immortal, shuddering dread possessed her. In another moment his enormous coils would crush her tender body. She, who could not die, must yet feel the pains of death, and oh, more bitter far, she could not stir to save her little one from a like fate. Then suddenly came a silvery cry, "Apollo! I am Apollo!" and an arrow sang through the air past Leto's head and pierced the throat of the python. Down dropped he, choked with his dark blood, writhing his scaly bulk in the death throe. One gurgling hiss he gave, and with that he died. Amazed, the goddess turned to see who had sped that shaft, and behold, the mighty babe had cast off his swaddling bands, and came bounding to her side, his eyes alight with joy, and in his hand was a gleaming bow. "My well-beloved," said his mother, "can it be that your baby hand slew this monster? Tell me, how came you by that bow?" "I made it, mother," said the little god. "But till now you have never left my sight," she murmured, wondering. "When did you make it, sweet son?" "When the need came," he answered, and then, holding high his golden head, "Am I not Apollo?" he cried in a great voice. Then Leto kept silence, glorying in her heart, for she perceived that she had borne one who in wisdom and power would be great among the Olympians, seeing that of himself he had devised the fit weapon for that instant peril, and had created it by his will. The gentle goddess shuddered again as she looked on the dire creature from whose jaws he had delivered her, as she thought. Alas, she knew not that the snake would have done her no harm. He was a wise and aged beast, knowing no other food than the milk and cakes and honey men offered before that cave, and his fierce, threatening aspect was but meant to frighten her from entering his lair. Apollo plucked forth his arrow from the dead serpent, and crying, "I will see what he guarded here," ran lightly into the cave. The sunny brightness that streams from persons of the Olympians made a glory round about him in the thick darkness within, and showed him a veiled figure sitting on a throne of gold. The throne was set over a cleft in the cavern floor, and before the throne he saw what seemed a stone altar, but of strange shape, being like an egg half sunk in the ground. He saw, too, that meat offerings and drink offerings and jewels of price lay heaped around the altar, and forthwith he strode boldly to the throne, and cried, "Arise, unknown, yield me place, for I, Apollo, have slain the keeper of the shrine, and am lord here henceforth." No answer came from the motionless figure, and Apollo stamped his little foot in anger and bent his bow the second time. At that, the veiled one started up, a tall and ghostly shape, and with shriek upon shriek fled past him out of the cavern. Leto caught one glimpse of a pale, anguished face as it went fleeting by, and hastening within, she found her son already seated on the throne, and said, "Alas, child, what have you done? This was some goddess of the netherworld, for I saw her countenance, not bright like those of the Olympians, yet none the less divine." But Apollo laughed, and bade his mother be content, since he had won her a dwelling place, and himself much renown. So they abode in the cave, and when they had been there not many days, the birds of the air brought them tidings that Zeus had dared a combat with enormous Typhon, and slain him, and was returned to his palace on high with all his kin. Meanwhile, she whom Apollo dispossessed was making her moan to Earth, whose daughter and prophetess she was. For Earth was wont to send up whispering voices of soothsay through the cleft in the cavern, but it was not granted to mortals to hear them plainly. Therefore she made Themis, her daughter, priestess of the solemn shrine, that she might interpret the voices to men, and gave her the great Python for a warder. And the shrine was enriched with many gifts by those to whom Themis revealed things to come. Now, when Themis told how the young Olympian had seized upon her throne of prophecy, Earth was wroth for her sake, and thought upon revenge. So she sent night-wandering phantoms abroad among men, which brought them clear messages in dreams. And no more pilgrims came with gifts to Delphi, because visions revealed to every sleeper the things he desired to know. But the device was not hidden from Apollo, and forthwith he sped up to the heavenly halls, and clung with his childish hands to the throne of Zeus, making loud complaint that he was robbed of his dues. "What dues are those?" said great Zeus, smiling, "and who has wronged a babe like you?" "O king," answered Apollo, "the ancient shrine of Earth is now mine by right of conquest, for I won it with my bow. But the revenue of gifts that should come to me, Earth defrauds me of, sending men dreams and visions, so that they have no need to seek my cave for soothsay. Grant me some redress, lest here I stay and weary all the gods with outcry against you." Then Zeus laughed loud and long, well pleased to see fair Leto's little son already thus eager for lordship and for tribute. "Threaten us not, bold warrior," said he in pleasant mood, "for redress you shall have, and that speedily." Then, bending his majestic brows in token that his promise was sure, he gave command to Earth that her midnight phantoms should visit men no more. Nor dared she resist his sovereign will, and ever thenceforth Apollo holds sway in Delphi, lord of a glorious dwelling, where oracles of unfailing truth are given to mortals from his golden share beside Earth's ancient altar stone. End of How Apollo Came to Delphi. Read by Mark Harrington, Framingham, Massachusetts.